In your role and what it is you do, there's a lot of facets. As you mentioned, there's a lot of priorities, but ultimately, if you boil it down, there are two things that you're, bless you, that you are responsible for. And again, you can disagree with me anytime. All of you in here are responsible for some sort of results. Would you agree with that? Right? And until, robots and AI and everything else takes over, you all have to work with people to get those results. Do you agree with this? Right? So I've built the business over the past 2.5 decades on one very simplistic philosophy that's not at all simple, is that people drive results, results don't drive people. You agree with that? So if I can get people to work together, to have the same, to be on the same television, to make sure that the vision is right, it's easier, not easy, but it's easier to move in the direction that we want to move. And so when you break that down, and you also work in two types of environments. And again, I'm simplifying this. I get this, but I'm simplifying it. You work with an external environment, and you work with an internal environment. Your external environment, it's like you mentioned, are your partners in the community and the congregation and the guests and everybody that's kind of external. And then the internal environment is everybody that kind of works behind the curtain, paid, volunteers to make all that happen. Everybody agree with this so far? Again, my philosophy is if you can improve this environment, it makes it easier, not easy, to manage that environment. Do you agree with this? Okay, so the internal, and so when it comes to people and it comes to leadership, how can we leverage, not manipulate, I'm talking about authentically and sincerely, how can we leverage the people around us to make sure we have maximum output, to create the efficiencies and the effectiveness, to really move at a speed that keeps us moving in the direction that allows us to be successful, however you define success and whatever the vision is. So far, so good. Okay? So again, let me just kind of lay the foundation here. So when it comes to people, and some of you said some of this already, there's really 3 things that we're trying to do when it comes to people. Okay? 3 elements, kind of a 3-legged stool. The first thing is how are we always conscious of building strong working relationships? Strong working relationships that allow us, because what we find, and not saying in your churches, don't take offense, but what we find is that we walk into organizations all the time and people are working together, but they're not truly working together. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like they're working together and they're physically there, but they're not truly working together to maximize and drive the results that you want to draw. So strong working relationships means, double click on that, it means, and some of these words have already come up, 3 things. Number 1, trust. Number 2, respect. And number 3, rapport. If I can work on building trust, respect, and rapport, it creates an easier path to stronger working relationships. Again, authentically and sincerely as we're driving this. Now, why, no matter how long you've had a working relationship, no matter how long you've had any relationship, why should we never take our relationships for granted? Somebody help me out. Yeah, Charlie.
At my age, a lot of my friends are dying.
Okay.
So don't.
Thanks for bringing motivation to this, Charlie. We appreciate it. Nothing. Keep going.
So seriously, younger people, the people I've met around this room, we always assume that we're going to live for a very long time. Don't ever take that for granted.
Okay, that's good.
Precious.
That's one. Why else shouldn't we take any relationship, no matter how long we've had it? Why should we not take relationships for granted? Somebody help me out.
As much as I've learned from books,
Mm-hmm.
I have learned more from my interactions with others who have lived it.
Okay. Yeah, so there's an opportunity for continued growth, right? Not to say we can't grow in other areas, but people allow us to help us grow as we move forward. Why else should we never take them for granted? Anybody? You can this way you can participate. Feel free to jump in at any time.
Well, it sort of goes along with Tim, but people make us better.
Okay. Yeah. People make us better as we go, right? And so ultimately, it's like I've been with my wife for 25 years, and she knows I love her, but she still needs to hear it authentically and sincerely, right? We never want to take those relationships for granted. And people, to me, are like building emotional bank accounts. Okay, think about this. And again, I'm not trying to just make it transactional. This has to be relationship driven. But what I mean by emotional bank accounts are, there are times in our relationships where we might have to make a withdrawal. You agree with that? But we need to make sure that we have enough what? Deposits in there so when we make withdrawals, we're not overdrawn. Because when you look at people, you typically inside, and I know I'm simplifying this, but just stay with me, you have 3 types of people that work inside your churches. You have builders, you have maintainers, and you have departers. Your builders are your go-to people, the people that you know are always going to be there, the people that you know you can always rely on, right? These are the people that you will walk together with and make sure that you're moving in the right direction. Your maintainers, they're going to do a really good job, but they're not necessarily willing to go above and beyond. That's not bad. It just means that you know when they're inside and they're working those things, they're going to do it and they're going to do a great job. And then your departers, there could be 2 of those. One is people that are retiring, right? Succession planning. And then others that you might want to help out or help out of the church, because they just don't necessarily add the value. It doesn't mean they're bad people. There just might be another bus for them, right? No judgment or criticism, okay? So when you're looking at these things, sometimes we can overstress our builders. Would you agree? Yeah. How do we do that? How do sometimes we potentially overstress our builders?
Favoritism.
Favoritism? What else?
Ask them to serve in different other capacities.
Yeah.
Overserve.
Yes, sometimes we go what?
Feel too much.
Yeah, we go to them all the time. And sometimes they're looking and they might not say it, but they're like, well, what's Chad doing? Right? Hold them to a different, yes. So sometimes we have to, and what I'm talking about here is I'm talking about, when we talk about never taking it for granted, is I'm talking about being intentional. And sometimes we're unconscious. Don't take offense to that. Me included. I come at you today leader to leader. I come at you human to human. I don't have this all figured out. You know what I mean? So we have to be intentional about making sure that our strong working relationships are intact that allow us to move forward in the right direction. Okay? The next one is engagement when it comes to people. And engagement, simply, my definition of engagement is this. Yes?
Clarification question, sorry.
Yep, go ahead.
When you say strong working relationships, do you mean strong relationships that work and are healthy and are functional and are good, or the strong relationships at work?
At work.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't or shouldn't be friends outside.
Sure.
That's a whole, right? I'm not saying that you have to be. I'm just saying when we're working together on a project or we're trying to move a result forward, how are we strong working together that allows us to move forward with those 3 elements? Good? Now, engagement, my definition of engagement, again, keeping this simple, is simply this. Opportunity mindset versus obligation mindset. Opportunity mindset says I get to. Obligation mindset says I. Big difference in how we approach it. Would you agree? Big difference. So how am I setting people up for the highest probability of opportunity mindset? Is there obligation mindset? Yes. This is not, completely perfect. There's always going to have obligation mindset, but what am I doing to drive opportunity mindset? I'm asking you to get selfish. I'm asking you to look in the mirror. I'm going to ask you to do this so you can see that the best way to experience this is to experience this. Here's what I want you to do, just by yourself, just for a second. Thinking about opportunity versus obligation. Think about all the things you do. And if we had to list them, we'd definitely be here till the Astros game. Think about all the things you do. Here's what I want you to define. And when you write it down, you've been that much more kind of in tune with it as you think about it. Of all the activities that you do in your role, everything that you do, what is opportunity for you, which means you get to, you're good at it, it moves the mission forward within the church. And what are those things that are obligation, which means you have to, because it's part of your role, or something you signed up for, or things that you don't necessarily get up and get excited about. Think about that. Put 1 or 2 on each category. Again, you don't have to share this with anybody. This is just for you. I just want you to get inside your own mind for a second. What are things that are opportunity? What are things that are obligation in your world? Just take a second and jot that down, specifically for you so you can bring some context to it. So what you find when you do this, when you really exhaust this with yourself and you exhaust this with your people, here's what you find. You find that sometimes your obligation is somebody else's what? Opportunity. And how am I working together to eliminate obligation? Not passing negative to negative, but how am I figuring out what's opportunity for somebody else, or we call it energy, and what's stuff? And how do we maximize those working relationships to drive more opportunity mindset? Again, we can't eliminate completely. Let me give you a quick, this is just a crash course. I call it the 4 Ds, okay? So if I have obligation, and I'm not saying you can do any of this, but I would challenge your own mindset to think about this as a leader, as you're driving your church and as you're implementing the mission, okay? Number 1, somebody mentioned earlier, are there things that I can delegate? Not about passing, but for example, do I have things that are obligation for me that might be opportunity for somebody else? What would, if I really were in tune, what would be the benefit of delegating some of those things to maybe somebody else that it was opportunity for them? What are some of the benefits of that?
Frees up white space.
Frees up space to focus more on opportunity-driven activities for me. What else does it do?
Develops them.
It develops them.
Produces a better product.
It produces a better product, more efficiencies, more effectiveness. It gives them opportunity. Not saying anybody in here, I'm looking in the mirror, most of my wounds as a leader are self-inflicted. Because I can do it quicker, I can do it faster, I can do it, and I'll just shortcut that. And so my short-term shortcuts create long-term headaches for me. My short-term investments in people create long-term dividends. And that's what I want to do. But I wake up, I might give Charlie something to do. I wake up and he hasn't done it yet. I'll just do it. I just get out of my way. I'll just do it. I can do it quicker, faster. And all of a sudden, what I don't realize, short term I'm winning, but long term it continues just to fester and perpetuate and doesn't move. But we as leaders have to be willing to sometimes look in the mirror and say, how can I get out of my, because sometimes I'm my biggest roadblock. I'm my biggest headwind. I'll self-admit that. So what am I doing to delegate? Number 2. What am I doing to defer? Okay? And Jeff, this kind of goes to what you were talking about when I'm talking about prioritizing. How many people in here at one way, shape, or form, whether it's electronic, whether it's on a napkin, have, call it whatever you want, like a to-do list, by a show of hands? How many people have kind of a to-do list that they look at on an ongoing basis? Okay? How many people, just like me, when you go clean up that to-do list, there are items that you move from to-do list to to-do list, they're just still there. You ever do that? Right? You're there all the time. What you don't realize is that's creating mental space. It's taking up challenge. And so how, when I'm really looking at everything that I'm juggling, what are those things that I could potentially, literally mentally shelf? That's not happening today. I don't know the time frame. You pick it. That's not happening this month. That's not happening this quarter. That's not happening this year. I am going to defer that, and I am going to focus on the things that help move the mission where? Forward. Now, I'm not saying you can make that on your own. You might have to have a shared experience. We'll talk about that. But what are those things that I could potentially defer that allow me to create more space for opportunity-driven? Remember, opportunity-driven activities have defined 3. You're good at them. You enjoy doing them, and they move the mission forward. That's where you should spend. I'm a fan of, I don't live this, but I study it. I study minimalism. Really try. My wife is a consumer. She wouldn't let me be a minimalist. She likes to consume. As a matter of fact, her credit card got stolen the other day, and I said, don't worry, honey, they'll spend less money than you do. Just let them keep it. So I study, and there's a study out there, you can look this up, there's a study there that says the average household here in the States, the average household has about 300,000 items in it. Okay, if you look at all the items that we consume, and we're a consuming nation, we probably have to be or the economy would crash. That's another whole nother topic. But here's the scarier statistic. We utilize less than 12% of what's in our house. So of all the items that we have, we utilize less than 12%. I can't prove this, but with all my empirical research and data, I believe that there's a lot of noise in our everyday environments. And probably there's a smaller percentage that actually help us move the mission where? Forward. So how can I eliminate, I can't, maybe not at all. I'm not saying we take the pendulum from here to here and it's cloud 9 and everything's perfect, but how can I potentially look at things and move the pendulum from here to here that I can defer some of these things because they just don't make sense? With me? Okay? Next, this is a tough one for a lot of people because this is where this is where the past shows up, okay? Are there things that I just need to delete? Are there things that just do not serve? And it might be activities, but it might be habits. As Jeff mentioned, we do this all over the globe. We do this with large organizations, small organizations. There was a firm in New York City, a big finance firm called Neuberger Berman. This is pre-COVID. But we did a 90-day time in motion study. And what we found is that the first thing these high net worth individuals did when they came in there is they got behind their computers and they checked their what? Email. Okay? Again, this is just an example. I'm not saying it works in your world. We studied it. On average, 2 hours and 18 minutes, they were caught up in email land. Clients, trades, this. I'm a big believer that if you win the first hour of the day, you win the day. That's just my belief. Whether you spend that time praying, whether you spend that time creating what I call a 3-pack. A 3-pack is, what are the 3 things that if I get done today, I will consider it a productive day? Big or small? What are those 3 things? I've got 100. What are those 3 things? It allows me to audit and assess at the end of the day, right? So we asked them, we said, for the first hour of the day, don't check your email. Well, there was no way that was going to happen. I got trades, I got this, you don't understand. So we negotiated 20 minutes. First 20 minutes. Instead of checking your email, come in and be proactive and think about what you got to do today, create that 3-pack, really create a plan. 70% implementation, my argument with them was 70% implementation of that plan will be better than 100% implementation of no plan. Everybody with me? Yeah. So, because you get caught up 2 hours and 18 minutes and then all of a sudden you're putting out fires the rest of the day. And most of us are really good at putting out fires. But what if we could prevent them? That's where I was trying to go with them. So we did it for the next 3 months. And we studied it. And we talked about their habits. And we talked about things they deleted. And it became part of their DNA. We call it, how do you make it part of your DNA? It's just the way you show up. And we tracked it. And what we found was, and I can't pinpoint exactly, but what we found is in that next 3 months, in their behaviors and just deleting that one habit, that particular group of high net worth financial advisors was able to uncover an additional $2.1 billion worth of assets, and they actually collected about $783 million. Just by changing that one behavior and focusing on things that actually drove the business forward. Does this make sense? So are there things that you could potentially delete that just don't make sense? It might be habits, it might be meetings, it might be things that you just do because you've always done it. We've always done it that way. Are there things that we could look at and potentially delete? And the last one, are there things that I just need to do? It's what I signed up for. It was part of the role. I can't defer them. I can't delete them. I can't delegate them. I need to change my what? I need to change my lens. I need to change my attitude. I just need to say, this is what I signed up for. This is what I do. I need to take a different approach and approach it differently that allows it to show up to be more opportunity. And how do I do those things typically first? Anybody like me, sometimes when you have something you don't necessarily want to do, maybe you say, I'll do it by noon. You ever do that? Right? And then noon comes and you say, I'll get it to it by the end of the day. You ever do that? Then the end of the day comes and it just keeps perpetuating. Right? So sometimes just about, if those things aren't necessarily opportunity for me, what am I doing to drive that? And doing it, getting out of my way, and then back to the opportunity activities. Does this make sense? Again, I want to take, so again, I have to have this conversation with my team all the time. I always talk about what's opportunity, what's obligation. And that's a number one conversation that I would challenge people to have. And I'm not saying you don't understand your people. I'm just saying, how can I tap into and truly understand and have an authentic conversation around what's opportunity and what's obligation? And how can we potentially move the puzzle around, not changing roles or responsibilities or job descriptions or org charts, but I'm just saying, how do we potentially change some of the everyday tasks that allow people to show up a little bit better? So far, so good? Okay. Then number 3 is fulfillment. This is a big one. How am I helping people understand the value or the impact that they bring every single day? And I'm a believer that everybody in your church has value. You agree with that? I'm also a believer that if we assessed, and again, I'm not here to make you mad, is that sometimes it's easy to forget that value because of all the noise and everything they have to do on a daily basis. And that could be paid staff or volunteer staff. It's sometimes easy to forget. Your space is a little bit easier because there's one mission, right? I mean, it's easier to sometimes center your needle, But ultimately, sometimes you get caught up in all the things that you do. And sometimes it's about authentically and sincerely bringing that fulfillment. You create these three, and you stay focused on these three things. And I'm not saying you're not doing these things. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm just saying, how can we look at enhancing? How can I look at implementing more? How can I be more intentional about these three anchor points? And you will set your people up for a higher probability of success to drive what? Results. Make sense? Okay. Now, so far so good? Good? Okay. I can change gears anytime. I could literally bore you to death till tomorrow, but I won't do that. All right, so now let's take a look at this. If you're truly being intentional, here are a couple things that would be foundational for me with your teams. Okay? I already talked about one of them. Opportunity versus obligation, or energy versus stuff. What's energy, what's stuff, and how do we work even better together? The next one is I would tap into everybody's GCGs. Okay? GCGs, which means everybody is motivated a little differently. Would you agree? Everybody's definition of success is differently. You all probably serve one. It's easy in this space to serve one mission, but everybody probably has a little bit different ways to go there. So the GCG said, I really want to understand in what ways do they want to grow within the ministry or within the space that they're in? How do they feel that they contribute? And what are some of their specific goals? If I can understand their GCGs, how they want to grow, how they feel like they contribute, what's their value and impact, and what are some of their specific goals, now as a leader, it's easier to help Sherpa that and create a path to get there. And I'm not saying you don't understand your people, but nothing replaces being intentional about, and you don't have to sit down one-on-one. Maybe you don't have time to sit down one-on-one. Maybe you're in passing. Maybe these things come up in conversation. Maybe they're just fragments of conversation. But this is going into my file every day with my people to make sure that I'm showing up as a leader to help fulfill these things. If I can help fulfill those things, then, and we're all moving in the same direction, then we're all winning and we're all moving together. Make sense? The next one is, and I have a lot of acronyms, it's called CAP. This is an important one, okay? One thing I will always ask, I'll always ask organizations and I'll always ask leaders when I'm working with them is I always ask one question when I walk in. I'll say, if we were going to Champion Force, I would ask Jeff and Jarrett one question. I would say, where is the bus going? What is the mission? What is the vision? What are we, and I know ultimately in your space, but what are you trying to do with Champion Force? What are the main drivers? What are the goals? And I think if you have 20 focus areas, you have 0. It's just my opinion. I think it should be 5 or less. What are those anchors? I call them, what are the anchor points that we're truly, where is the bus going? Okay, that's the first question that I ask. And then the second thing that I ask is, what are the expectations that you have of your people? And what are the expectations that they have of you? If those things, the C stands for clarity. And I'm not, this is no judgment. I'm not saying you're not doing it again, but if those things truly aren't clear, it's hard to really work together. We find again in organizations that a lot of people work hard. I'm sure inside your churches a lot of people work hard, but sometimes they're on all 4 sides of the bus, right? And you're pushing this way and I'm pushing this way and somebody else is pushing this way and the bus doesn't seem to be what? Moving. So how do I create clarity around direction and expectations? Okay, where's the bus going? What are our goals? What's expected? I always say that uncommunicated expectations creates pre-planned resentment. Because if you don't tell me what you expect of me, I will probably disappoint you 100% of the time. Not meaning to. I think I know what you want, but I'm trying to do what you want me to do. But sometimes I've disappointed you already because it doesn't always match up. Our televisions aren't necessarily on the same channel. So it's my role as a leader to make sure that there's clarity in what they expect of me and what I expect of them. And I have to be crystal clear on those things. And I have to treat it just like a commercial campaign. It has to stay in front of them. Some of the best advertisers that, time out.
Yeah. Say your sentence again.
Uncommunicated expectations creates pre-planned resentment. So I will resent you if I'm not clear on the The other day, I was driving home. This is a perfect example. My wife and I have a really good marriage, so I don't want to paint it the wrong way. I was driving home from the airport, and I had maybe 5 minutes when I was pulling in, and I had to take Charlie, our 11-year-old, I had to take him to practice. So I had some time between the airport and the house to call her and ask her if she would fill up his water bottle. Simple. But then I thought to myself, well, that's tedious. She knows to fill up his water bottle, right? Got home, the water bottle wasn't filled up. I didn't communicate it to her. Now I'm mad at her. I haven't even talked to her. I'm like, why didn't you fill up the water bottle? She said, it takes 5 seconds. You fill it up, right? Completely different. That caused a riff and $72 at the florist, right? Just for that one small expectation that I didn't communicate. Sorry, I'll lose track of time. So these things, are they clear? And again, this is not about judgment or criticism. This is just about looking in the mirror and asking myself, is there clarity? And I will tell you, if I look in my own mirror, sometimes there's not clarity with my team and where it is we're going. So I'm not immune to any of this. Okay? Are we clear on this? And then the second thing is part of that is, do I understand what they expect of me? And is that manageable? Can I live into those expectations? If I don't know them, I might not be living into them and not even realize it because they might not communicate it. Right? So I need to take that and talk to Charlie and talk to Clint and say, what is it that you expect of me as somebody who's trying to drive this bus and move it in the right direction? And we have to be aligned on those things. Now, the A stands for alignment. So if the bus is going to Austin, for sake of conversation, we're sitting here in Houston, if the bus is going to Austin, and we have people on the bus that understand the bus is going to Austin, they're clear on it, but they don't want to go to Austin, what could happen along the way? What's that? They could hijack the bus, right? They could start creating confusion and frustration and sidebar. You don't really want to go to Austin Division. They start creating silos. They do all this different type of stuff. And again, I'm not saying they're bad people, but if they want to go to Dallas, there's just another bus. Or if they want to go to Oklahoma, there's just another bus, right? And so how are we making sure as leaders that there's alignment to the clarity of the mission and the vision, and they're not being an anchor to it because sometimes they're stuck in the past or they have a different vision of where we should go. And it's okay. I'm not suggesting that it's about a dictatorship, but it's about creating that alignment and that unity where you're setting yourself up for the highest probability of success to serve and do the things that you do on a daily basis. Okay? And then the P stands for purpose, which that goes back to fulfillment. Does everybody understand? Here's a big one. Does everybody understand their piece of the puzzle? Again, I'm not trying to oversimplify this. It just makes sense in my mind, so just stay with me. Your churches, especially the volume and in who you serve and what it is you do, is like a giant puzzle piece. It's like a giant puzzle with a lot of different pieces. Would you agree with that? And if you've ever seen a puzzle, on the box is the picture that the puzzle makes. So, but every piece has to be in place. So does everybody understand really two dynamics no matter where they're at in the org chart? One, how to maximize and be successful in the piece they're responsible for. That's key. Big or small. How do I maximize and be successful with the piece that I am responsible for or work in? But two, how does my piece connect to the bigger picture? How does what I do make sure the bus gets to Austin? Big or small. I might not be driving it. I might have the last seat on the bus. But how does what I do make sure that the bus is moving? That's when you have purpose and fulfillment comes up. Make sense? Good. So far, so good? All right. I know I'm speaking a lot here. Let me give you one more piece, and I'm going to go into an exercise. Here's the other thing. I'm glad that communication came up. A lot of times there's a fallacy, and again, not saying in your churches, do not take offense to this. There's a fallacy that communication actually exists. And a lot of times it doesn't. So let me give you. So there was a study that came out that said that we think somewhere between 12,000 and 60,000 thoughts a day. 80% of those thoughts are negative, by the way. Not this group. Obviously, this is a different group. But 80% left to our own accord, human beings, if they have a chance to go positive or negative, typically they will go where? Negative, right? I see myself as a positive person. I'm branded as a positive person, but sometimes when I audit my own, instead of doing a time and motion study, sometimes do a thought and motion study Sometimes scary where your thoughts are going. Again, the other day I was coming back from the airport. I called my wife and she didn't answer her phone. And everybody has these things on them. My first thought was what? Yeah, she's dead. Yeah, something happened, right? All of a sudden your mind goes, she's got the boys with her. You immediately go to the negative. Call her back 2 minutes later. This is 3 minutes in. Haven't even talked to her. 3 minutes. She doesn't answer her phone again. Now, here's what I say to myself. This is a conversation I have in my head. Well, she's probably mad at me. I bet she's mad at me. I've been gone for 6 days. I'm just coming back home. She's been running the boys everywhere. She's mad at me. She's upset with me. Then I say, she has no reason to be mad at me. Now I'm mad at her. I haven't even talked to her. You ever do this? Like, I'm mad. So finally, she picks up the phone the third time, and I'm like, where have you been? I know I shouldn't have done that, but that's how I reacted, because I was mad at her. Haven't even talked to her. This is what she said. She said, it's a nice day. I was outside. We have 2 labs. I was outside with the dogs and Charlie playing pickleball. My phone was on the kitchen counter. I left it inside. What in the world is your problem? Right? So I immediately went there. 80% of the thoughts are negative. Here's the other thing. This is what the study shows. 95% of the thoughts we have today are the same thoughts we had what? Yesterday. So we truly are creatures of what? Habit. And so when communicating, think about this for a second. When communicating, there's 6 layers. I have to get through 6 layers of you right now. Okay? Would you agree there's a difference between hearing and listening? Would you agree with that? You can all hear me because the proximity you are, my voice, some of you are not listening, do not raise your hand. You're going in one ear and out the other, which is fine. I get that. That's just the way that the world works. Okay? Would you agree there's a difference between listening and understanding? You can hear, now think about your roles and your positions in your church. Sometimes your teams hear you, they listen to you, and it makes no sense. But sometimes, because who you are, and because I might be intimidated, I might not raise my hand. It seems like everybody else is getting it. I don't get it, but it seems like everybody else is getting it. I'll just say I get it. And then I'll walk out of the room and go, hey, can you help me out? Like, I don't get it. Right? So when I'm communicating, am I hearing? Are they hearing? Are they listening? And do they understand? And I have to be okay with allowing them to feel comfortable and confident to raise their hand if they don't understand versus just going along with it. Would you agree there's a difference between understanding and agreeing? Would you agree with that? You can get people to hear, listen, understand, and think you're dead wrong. But again, most of the time, people might not what? They might not tell you. They might not raise their hand. Yep, I'm with you 100%. Alan, makes perfect sense. Thanks. I'm 100% in line with you. Walk away and go, might be losing it. You might be losing it. Right? Because they just might not agree. But sometimes as leaders, we have to make it comfortable to create that shared experience that allows them to get. Now, if I can get them to agree, would you agree there's a difference between getting them to agree and believing I have the ability to do it? Would you agree with that? I hear you, I listen to you, I understand you, I agree with you. How do you expect me to do that? With what I already have on my plate, with my budget, with the space that we have, with the volunteers, how do you expect? I agree, we should do that. 100%. Agree with you. How? And this apostrophe T is one of the biggest headwinds that we all face when people mentally have that can't. I agree we should. I'm not sure how you want me to do it. Good? And the last thing is, would you agree there's a difference between the ability to do it and then actually getting people to take what? Action. Would you agree with that? I hear you, I listen to you, I understand you, I agree with you, I can do that. Now the question is, am I actually going to do it? So when you're communicating a message, there are 6 layers I have to get through before you and I are on the same channel. Because you might hear me, but you might not be listening. You might be listening, but you don't understand. You might understand, but you don't agree. You might agree, but you don't think we can do it. If I can get you to think we can, now I got to get you to take action. I get you here, and now we're walking and pushing the bus in the same direction. And we're not wired to listen. On average, there's a study that came out that said on average, the human being, no matter what language they speak across the globe, can speak about 150 to 175 words per minute. But the human mind can process over 450. Which means no matter how fast I speak, you're already 3 steps ahead of me. Has anybody ever seen that movie Up? That dog? Everybody seen that movie Up? Squirrel. He has a squirrel moment. Like, squirrel, squirrel. We mentally have squirrel moments all the time. Some of you are having it right now. Like, is he going to break? What's going on? I need to go to the bathroom. I need a drink. Those don't help me at all, right? Listen, just humor me. The best way to experience this consciously is to experience it. And I know this is a small room, but I just want you to experience it. Take quick, and then we'll take a break.
What do you mean by that?
I'm going to tell you just a second. Okay, I want you to experience this. So do me a favor. Here's what we're going to do. You don't need anything. I need you to, don't do it just yet. I need you to stand up. I need you to find a partner you haven't worked with, but then kind of as much as you can, move your chairs around a little bit and have a seat. So give yourself a little bit of room. So like Alan, if you're working with Jeff, kind of maybe move your chairs over here. I'll promise you we'll put them back. Jeff, just move your chairs around and find a partner. Here's what we're going to do. That's okay. It's all right. It's all right. Everybody have a partner? Okay, here's what we're going to do. The partner with the longer hair will go first. You guys decide who that is. Longer hair is going to go first. Oh, that's close. You guys can decide. You guys can decide. Longer hair is going to go first, okay? Two rules that I think you guys can all abide by in this room. Number one, 100% honesty. Authenticity has to show up. You have to be 100% honest. Number two, you cannot offend your partner. That's important, right? So no matter what you do, your partner will not be offended, okay? Here's what we're going to do. If you're going first, this is not a conversation. This is a monologue. If you have the longer hair and you're going first, you are going to hold the microphone for 75 seconds. And you're going to explain to your partner in detail, take it wherever you want, in detail, your childhood home. Don't start yet, okay? Your childhood home, where you grew up. You can talk about the interior, the exterior, the experiences, your family, wherever you want to take it. Talk about 75 seconds about your childhood home. Your partner that's listening, every time you have a squirrel moment mentally, every time you go to the beach, every time you think about something else, I just want you to do this. Watch. I want you to raise your hand just like this and then put it back down. And if you have another squirrel moment, raise your hand just like this and then put it back down. Every time you go somewhere, we all do this. You can multitask. I can still be listening to Jeff, but I might be thinking about something. I'm just raise my hand. I'm going to put it back down, and Jeff's going to keep telling me about his childhood home. Okay? 100% honesty. 75 seconds. Please begin. Go. Time. Okay. Stop. First of all, let's hear it for partner number one. A little bit of appreciation for your partner. Let's dissect this. Okay? 100% honesty. If you were listening, what caused you squirrel moments? Just putting it out there. What caused you to have maybe a squirrel moment and kind of check out for a minute and then come back? Somebody should, yes?
When he was describing it, I was trying to picture it, so I pictured something from my past.
Yeah. You pulled a file from your past. So you're still there. You're seeing it, but what's incredible, think about this from a human element. What's incredible is your picture and what he's seeing inside mentally, not even the same. I could put a movie on this whiteboard. If you don't process, I could put a movie on this whiteboard and make an argument and not one person in here is watching the same movie. Yeah. You're seeing the same thing, but you're looking at it, you're watching it through your perspective, through your beliefs, through your history, even your attitude today. If you got to go to the bathroom right now, you're like, let's get this over, let's go. You're watching a different movie. I might not ever know what movie you're watching. Does that make sense? My goal as a leader is to tap into that. So it's okay because we all do it. You're trying to find that common ground, but your picture and his picture might be completely different and you don't even realize it. You're making a connection, you're just seeing two different things. Make sense? What else caused squirrel moments? Somebody else share. What else caused a squirrel moment if you had one?
Overheard somebody else's conversation.
Yeah, so Clint said I overheard somebody else's conversation. Like, Jeff, don't mean to be bad, but this conversation is more important. I'm gonna go here. This seems more interesting. So external noise will sometimes cause you to go to the beach. What else? Over here. Mike, you had something?
Yeah, I think Mike said something that just made me think of my childhood.
Yeah. This is interesting. We don't mean to do it. But sometimes we unintentionally, don't take offense, I do it too, we take the microphone out of somebody's hands. Or we take it in a conversation where they don't even want to go. You see it all the time. So like somebody goes, I just went to Boston. Look at the comments on social media. Yeah, me and my family went to Boston 3 months ago. It's not about you. But that's what they do. Somebody loses a loved one. I lost my father 3 months ago too. It's not about you. But you're trying to make a connection. But really what you just did is you turned the spotlight from them to me. You don't mean to. I'm just saying intentionally. Harvard just came out of study, said 47% of our day is unconscious. We do things and we don't even what? Don't even think about them. I'm just challenging you to think about it. I'm not saying you can't sympathize and empathize or you can't say about your Boston experience. but allow it to still be their experience, not yours experience. So sometimes we make a connect. Oh, you went to London? I was in London 3 months ago. That was awesome. I had a great time. We did the Big Red Bus. Did you do the Big Red? All of a sudden it's my story. No longer my story. That is what true, that's when we're in tune with that. That's when we allow people to show up me at their best. What else, Cos? I could do, again, I could do this. Go ahead.
My right, I was looking at my left, I was like, no one over there is raising their hand. Are they lying or do I have ADD?
So now he's assessing himself. He's like, do I need to go see a doctor? Do I need, right? Like it's a, yes. So all of a sudden now he's in his own head, still paying attention. I'm sure he captured some details, but all of a sudden we just begin to have our own internal conversation. It happens all the time. It's a human dynamic. It's natural. I'm not saying it shouldn't be. Did anybody have a squirrel moment when they were talking? Oh, yeah. Like, how am I going to fill 75 seconds? What is that next? How much time is it? Like, all of a sudden, you're communicating a message, and what we don't realize sometimes is sometimes our message makes perfect sense to us. But then when we're communicating it, it doesn't resonate down to action. And they might be interpreting something completely and then you walk away and go, that was a good meeting. Everybody's clear in line. Let's roll. And there's 18 different things of going 18 different directions. Not, again, this is not an indictment. I'm just telling you, just intentionally raise the antenna to say, what am I doing to make sure I minimize those things as we go?
Well, what I thought was really interesting too is when I knew that he was going to the beach somewhere in his mind, I all of a sudden fumbled with my words and trying to think of what to say next because I knew he had lost interest.
Yeah. You're like, how do I bring him back? What do I need to do? Let me talk about my girlfriend. Let me slide over. Right. Let me do something. Let me do something. Yes. And so that's another thing that happens.
And I find that all the time. If I'm talking to somebody and I can tell that they're listening and engaged, I'm much more present in that moment. And as soon as I see, especially in virtual calls, if I see their eyes flicker to because an email pops up or their attention loses, I lose
Like if you're doing a wedding.
Sure.
Well, this is another thing, and I promise you a break, so we're going to take one. But a lot of times I do it too, and we teach our teams to do this all the time. Sometimes when we're speaking to audiences, which a lot of you do, sometimes we go to the lowest common denominator, right? So I go to the people that are disrupting, and I'm actually doing a disservice to the 15,000 or 500 or however many people that actually want, you know what I mean? And so sometimes I find myself doing that. So consciously, how are we making sure that the message is getting clear? I could bore you to death for details. Thank you, partner. Stand and say thank you, partner. Let's look at let's do this. Let's take a 11 back at 3 o'clock. Back at 3 o'clock. Take a break. Check your emails.